Good afternoon, Tony Dottino doing my Live with Tony. I'm sorry I missed the Wednesday Live with Tony, but it was in travel mode and just getting back late that day. But I did want to talk today about an excitement that we have created a bit today for our 25th USA Memory Championship as we released the information that they will have to utilize for the first event on September the 28th, which is what we call our long-term memory. And what that's all about is we take some topics or some information and we give that to them about 28 days before the event, 30 days. And they get those days to study that information. And when we bring them on stage on the 28th, the very first event will be questions that we will ask them about this information that they've had 30 days to study. Now, one may think, well, this is pretty easy, right? We just give them the information and they just recite it like, we used to do in school where you just pour stuff in, you then spill it back out, you get an A and you're done. Now, this doesn't quite work the same way. What we're doing is we're giving them information, but then we have 4 different levels of questions that we then put them through, with the first one basically being, okay, here's some information we gave you. Now can you play it back in terms of different data elements? But when we get to the second, third, and fourth, we then start mixing the data elements. So I'll give you a question. This year, we issued information about national parks across the United States. It was a fun exercise because we got to look at first, well, where are these national parks? So can any of you listening to this think about how many national parks we have? And where are they all located? Well, how big are they? What are the unique animals or features of the park that they're famous for, or that people can expect to see upon visiting that park? What year was this park established as a national park that was official in the U.S. registry? And the killer is, well, how many people have visited this park? At least based on the last count that they did in the prior year. So that which seems simple, when you look at it in terms of silos, when you start crossing it and saying, tell me what national parks had a fox as an animal that people wanted to go see. But what national parks can you tell me were good for buffalo? And now what they have to do is think about, my goodness, how many national parks did I study that had foxes or buffalo that were part of the information that I had to absorb? Now, what's the purpose of that? We are trying to show people that the memory events that these people have so engaged their passion in is not just about being a nerd or not just about being a robot that regurgitates information back one for one. But in fact, what they've learned has got to be integrated in a way that improves their knowledge and their ability to communicate that knowledge when you cross the information in different categories or in different questions that you may ask. So as the competition goes, you may ask them, what's the location of this national park? As you go to the second phase of it, you may ask them what the location is and how big it is. When you get to the third and fourth, you may now start crossing parks. So it's not just one park that you now have to think about and just kind of repeat the line of information about that park, but you now have to go through all of these parks, the national parks, which are over 60. And now you have over 60 parks, and your brain's got to go through, what parks did I study that had foxes? What parks did I study that had buffalo? What parks had a lily as their favorite flower? And all of a sudden now you've got to go down through over 60 data elements, and you have to think, boom, across this way, you have to think this way. and you need to prove that my long-term memory was not able to just regurgitate information, but in fact, I was able to take that information and utilize it in a way that if I were in a National Park Service job and somebody came into one of our offices and wanted to know, so where might I see bison in the United States if I wanted to go to a national park, the agent, the ranger, would be able to, boom, tell you, hey, well, you could go to Colorado, you could go to California, you could go to Mississippi. I don't know. You tell me, where are bison in national parks? I know where you go see alligators. You want to see gators? My goodness. You come to Windermere, Florida, and go to my backyard. You can, in fact, if you were lucky, a few nights ago, you could have seen one right on the front porch. But the fun of the exercises are to prove to people that when we did this competition back in 2018 up at MIT, their head of the science department wanted to prove to the audience that these mental athletes were not just capable of doing what we call short-term memory, but in fact they were able to take information that we would give them and be able to use it in a way that demonstrates their knowledge through the use of their memory skills. And of course, when you start looking at the numerics, how big a park is, or how many people visited the park, now you're starting to really challenge people, because one of the things people have such a hard time remembering addresses or phone numbers or how much money they have in their bank account. And so we have a really interesting challenge for them in terms of numerics. And are there skills that people can learn that help them to retain information that happen to contain groups of numbers in them? So it's a fun event for us. It's a bit of work for the mental athletes. And when we first started this, it was interesting because we gave the mental athletes almost over 3,000 bits of information. And it took them a bit of time, but they demonstrated that extraordinarily well at MIT back in 2018. It was just extraordinary. The audience was spellbound by the knowledge that the mental athletes were able to demonstrate. And then we cut that back to 2,000 bits of information because we started to get some feedback from people that they do have a life and it does take them time to study the events and study the information we were going to ask them about. So we've now cut it back to less than 1,000, but we will make the questions a little bit tougher. That demonstrates their ability not just to take the information in, but how do you utilize that information to build knowledge and to build some experience with that knowledge that helps you to identify things that most people would just be blown away by. So it's an event to demonstrate to people watching the memory competition, wow, look at what these people are able to do. And they're not just bookworms or nerds, but they're normal, everyday people that have decided to put their memories to the test and prove that they could, in fact, learn skills, apply those skills, and just so happen to be in a competition where they get to demonstrate those skills. So that's where we're at in terms of this year's memory event. And it's coming on us pretty fast. It's September 28th. It's going to be at Full Sail University here in Winter Park, Florida. We're having bi-weekly calls right now to get the students that are at Full Sail. This is a full-scale project for the students that attend Full Sail University in media. And it's like their term paper in real life on how they're able to demonstrate the different skills they've learned during their year of study into something that's real. So it's as comprehensive as anything that they get to do. So it's a fun day for us. And we do a lot of preparation. Karen Pinson has been sending out notes now and getting confirmation from the mental athletes on who plans to confirm their attendance. And they have now 28 days to study that information that she sent out to them last evening. And here we are with another weekend, and it's a holiday weekend, so this is the official unofficial close to summer for people, though September 21st is the calendar day. This is when people go through their Labor Day weekend and have their last fun of summer, maybe their last fun of swimming. And here in Florida, in Windermere, we get a summer that goes into October, November. So I'll still be hitting the pool at least until November. Hope all is well. Everybody be safe. And look forward to seeing you on Monday.